Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about what are the new things comes in as a part of Java 9. We already discussed a lot about Java 8. If you're not familiar with the Java 8, you can go back and check what is the new things comes in Java 8. Then you can move on to Java 9. But basically, even though if you're not aware of Java 8, still you can go forward and study the Java 9. So, what are the new things? So, what is new in Java 9? Let's talk about that. So when we are moving from Java 7 to Java 8, the entire core has been changed. We are for more than a decade we are following object-oriented programming language. And then as a part of Java 8, we are moved to functional programming along with the object-oriented, right? But what is happening in Java 9? Because from Java 7 onwards, each and every version is going to come in with a very big new features. So what is there in Java 9? So let's talk about what other new things has been introduced as part of Java 9. The first one is JShell and private methods in interface. Interface is the only thing which keep on upgrading for each and every release. And factory methods, try with resource, enhancements in the Stream API, and another important thing JPMS, which is nothing but modular programming, and diamond operator, and safe var args annotations. And process API updates. Process API update is another important change which came as a part of Java 9 and HTTP 2 client. And HTTP 2 client also it's a major thing because so far whatever we are used in Java HTTP it has been introduced on the beginning of the Java which is Java 1 version. And now Java 9 we are introduced some new classes, new methods to access the HTTP clients. And another important thing, the JLinker, which is nothing but you can create your own runtime environment, which we'll discuss later. Okay, so this is going to be a very big playlist. So we'll go through one by one. In this particular video, we're going to cover up what is JPMS. Okay, so JPMS we might thought okay JPMS introduced as a part of Java 9, but actually it is introduced as part of Java 9. But the plan has been initiated the year of 2005, almost a decade before, and they have planned to release in Java 7 and Java 8 for some other development reason. It is not completed. So it has been moved to Java 9. And this is one of the big feature long waited in Java. So as a part of JPMS, what are we going to discuss? So first thing, what is a module and dependencies and directives and module graphs, modular jar, and a simple example. And custom runtime environment. Custom runtime env we are covering as a part of JLinker. So let's talk about each and everything. The first thing you need to know when you're talking about module, you should know what is module because module is replaced jar. It is not exactly the replacement. In traditional way of programming, we have the jar files, everything sit in the class path, and that's all. We don't have anything to do. Even though if you have hundreds of jar files, it will be placed in the class path. Even though the other jar file needs the another jar file dependencies or it is not necessary, whatever it is, it will be always staying there. But in modular programming, everything has been combined into a package or module. For example, if you have module, you might have only lang package. Someone might have another module which contains only IO package or net package, something like that. So in the next slide, I'm going to show you a simple example how the traditional way of jar is working and how the modular programming is working. But before that, you should know what is jar. It is pretty straightforward. It's group of packages and it contains some classes. And module, it's again the same thing. Group of packages and it contains several classes. But the another important thing about jar, there is no way to identify the dependency in class path. Class path, you have a 10 jar files, and you might expecting some other jar file, but you will not know until unless you run the program. Because when you run the program in the runtime, you will get class not found exception. But in a modular program, because in Java and whenever you write a project, we will create with a configuration file. That configuration file contains all the dependencies. So the compile time itself, all the dependencies has been resolved. Then it is moving on to the class path. So the next one is the same thing. You will know only on runtime, but when you're going for a module, compile time itself, you should be able to identify the dependencies. So here is an example. So first one is a non-module, which is our traditional way of coding, and second one is our modular programming. So just take a look at the non-module. You have a number of jar files, everything in a class path, but we don't know whether the first jar file depends on second one or second depends on third, and we don't know that. So maybe 4 or 5 jar file is not even necessary, but it will be still in the class path. So there is no security over there between the jar files. So how we can overcome that? The modular programming came into the place and it resolved that issue. So I have two modules here. One module contains 3 jar files and second module contains 4 jar files. Because these three, it doesn't require anything from the module 2. And these 4 from the module 2, they are not require anything from the module 1. Now we have a privacy between modules, but earlier we don't have any privacy over the class path. Everything stayed in the same place. So this configuration has been handled in the Java model configuration file, which is nothing but model-info.java. Okay, let's see a simple package structure. The first one is without module. You have the src package com.java.model class 1, class 2, class 3, and I have another package which contains class 4, class 5. It is a traditional way of coding without module. But when you take a module example, you have a source package. Under the source package, you will have module-info.java where you will provide all the dependencies. So if you find any project, the profile name called module-info, that means you have a configuration file in place. So what module info contains? Because we know that module info has been created as a part of Java 9 project and it will be under src. But what is there inside a module-info? First things, you have a multiple modules and you have multiple packages, right? We don't have to use all of them. If you're writing a module, you're going to tell the configuration file, I need these kind of packages or I need these kind of modules. So what are the required modules for your module, or what are the required packages? And then the packages needs to be imported. That's what I said. And service exposed to other modules. Okay, for example, you have one module and you want to expose to other modules because they are depending on us. So what we need to do? We need to know we should expose the our module so they can use it. The similar way, someone else, we there is a module 2 and we are depending on module 2, so they have to expose their service. We need to acquire the service. And reflection impact in our package. This is a different concept we will discuss later. Okay, so first let's talk about what is require and export. Require means I need something. Exports means I have something and I'm giving it to you. That is right. So how it is going to work here? Just take an example here. I have a module 1 and module 2. Module 1 exporting and module 2 it requires. So what basically is happening? Module 1 exporting the packages. So other modules can use it. So module 2 it depends on module 1. So it requires com.java 9.module 1. It is kind of import and export. So I'm importing so you can export it. So you can export it so I can import it, something like that. Right? But just take a look at a package structure. we only used model one, com.java.model one, and there is another package called service. So what happened to the service? Because I'm not exposing my service, I only need to expose com.java 9.model one. I don't need the service. So you don't have to export it. In case if needed, you can do it with the help of requires com.java 9.service. Okay, so what is explicit export? Just look at the example, module 1 and module 2. So I'm exposing my module 1 only to the module 2. You have a 10 modules, but only module 2 can access your module. So if you have module 3, if they are requiring model 1, they won't be able to access because it is an explicit export, kind of a private member. So next one, transitive. So what is transitive? Transitive is a simple example to access the class even though it is not mentioned in the requires. Here at model 1, I have an export, which is model 1 and the service. Sorry, I'm exporting model 1 and I'm requiring services, right? But model 2 requires transitive com.java.model 1, right? So I'm trying to access model 1. So when you requires transitive com.java 9.model 1, you should be able to access the module 1 along with the service, because we are not requiring services in the module 2, because model 1 we have a two, right? Java 9.model and Java 9.service. So I'm just using only Java 9.model 1 here, but it's indirectly it has access to the Java 9.services also. It's an indirect access. You don't have to specifically tell everything, because you have, if you access the model one, in case it has a 10 exports or 20 requires, you should be able to access all of them with a transitive. And then, so what is a static? Static is nothing but it's another way of providing your packages or modules. So you need some package or you need some modules to run your code in your compile time. But when you're moving to the production, when it's a runtime, it may be required, it may not be required. So static is basically telling the compiler it is going to be optional and the runtime, but it is necessary in the compile time. So that is the important process of the static keyword. And so what is a module graph? So just take a look at the module 1, module 2, but both of them looking for something from Java base. But if you look at the code, module 1 and module 2, nowhere I'm requiring Java base, because Java base is the default package, like our in object. So you don't have to explicitly use object, or you don't have to explicitly import an object whenever you're creating a class. Similar way, you don't have to export or requires the Java space explicitly. Even though if you're not providing inside your model, it still be accessible. But all of them, so what this particular graph? Because we know that Java has been updated to JPMS, right? Modular system. But whether Java is JPMS system, because Java itself converted into a modular system, right? So what basically they have done, they're splitting everything into a different groups and they're creating separate package. For example, when you take an example of java.ac, it contains row sets. These are the packages included inside this java.sc module, right? So the similar way, Java jar file has been split into three different module graphs. Okay, if you want to know the detailed things, you can go to Java and AP documentation. I think let's go over and see it. Let me open a browser and I'll show you. Just give me a minute. Or just go to Java 9 API documentation. So you should be able to see it here. Okay. So whenever you're going for or studying a new version of Java, make sure you're going for the Oracle documentation site and see what are the new things they have been added. So here you have three different models. One is java.sc and JDK and java.fx. So our models comes under java.sc, right? So the similar way, java.actuation, this is the one which we discussed. It comes under java.sc. The similar way, not only java.base, we have a lot of modules inside in it. Everything has been packaged into a three different modules. One is java.sc, which contains all the basic necessary jar files, and the JDK and the Java FX. And you can see the graphs also here. Let's go to the java.sc. We can see what are the models included inside the java.sc. See, this is the graph which I showed you in a PPT. Java.sc contains Java.sql row set, SQL, XML, scripting, everything. So if you don't have to explicitly provide java.base, it automatically accessible. But if you want java.sc, you need to provide it because it contains some different packages. So if you want to detail things, what are the exports and imports, you can go through that and you can check it out. Okay, this is going to be a very big playlist. We just started JPMS, and next we'll talk about what are the new things comes under Java 9. Maybe the next video we will talk about JLink or process API enhancements. Thank you.